Hey everybody, and welcome back to Investment Honey, where we talk about various crypto projects. Before we begin, as always, a couple of reminders that I'm not your financial advisor, and we never provide investment advice on this channel ever. So with that being said, if you're somebody new coming to the series, not sure where you came from, but we're so glad to have you. And if you're somebody that's been with us, since the very beginning, or you joined us somewhere along the way, thank you so much for continuing to support the channel and the series amongst all the options that you have across the YouTube landscape. So with that being said, the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to take a look at the alerts that I've got set here, not going to the created. Remember, you can always go ahead. You got a couple of options here between recently created and recently triggered. So I'm going to go to recently triggered. And remember, I haven't said this in a while, but if you sync this up, with your phone, you sign in on your phone, and that's where you're going to be able to keep all those alerts. So if anybody is, setting alerts and it's like, hey, it's not remembering the alerts, the reason why is because you're not signed in. So make sure that you sign in both on your, laptop or desktop, whatever you got. And make sure that you do so on the phone too, because it will sync your alerts, whenever you save them across all your devices, as long as you're logged in, to Dexscreener, and it will keep it, there for as long as you want it to until you decide to go ahead and delete them. So again, recently triggered, and I'm going to open up Super Bowl, and I'm going to open up, or both my Super Bowl tokens. Okay. And the other thing that you need to know is that it doesn't really give you a ton of information here, because I'm working off of the laptop. But if you go into your phone and you go and you look at your alerts, you'll find a little option, down at the bottom, and it'll say, it'll by default it'll be recently created, but then you can go ahead and go to recently triggered, but either way, the point that I'm making is when you do that, because I'm pulling it up on my phone right now, you'll be able to see a lot more information, so you'll be able to see the current market cap, you'll be able to see the volume, you'll be able to see, what kind of changes have been done on the 1 hour and on the 24 hour, so you'll get all that information in addition to what you're seeing here on the desktop version. So I typically like to check out, the laptop, just because I don't want to open up every, new token that I've got here to see if there's been any changes on the market cap. I can go ahead and see a little bit better, looking at the phone to see if there's been any major moves. So just keep that in mind, that there are some changes or differences, not changes, but differences between, the information that you get on the desktop version, of the alerts, and then on the mobile version of the alerts, okay, utilizing their app. So with that being said, we're going to take a look here, at the Super Bowl token. And the reason why I'm bringing it up is because, what did I say? This one is the one that we saw first, some days ago, 6 days ago, right? And so we saw this one obviously at 179, and what did I say? Likely it would go ahead and come up, and then it would come back down. You can see that it's still, still kind of hanging around, this area. So hasn't really been sold off, So I mean, even though you're getting some buys and some sells, it hasn't dumped, So that is encouraging. Just want to highlight that. But for the one that we talked about yesterday, and this one, I think we caught this, kind of high, I think, at 513. Yeah, 513. And then I told you guys yesterday, if you saw yesterday's video, that I set the alert, I think, for this one to go under 450. And I said, I actually think that it actually would go under 400. And I think if you go back to yesterday's video, you'll recall that I said that. And so for this one, you can see it triggered on both of these, right? It triggered over 530 and it triggered, at 450. And obviously, right now it's sitting, what, 322. And I think I took a screenshot, of this one. I got to go back. So give me a second. Let me see if I can find that. Okay, so I went ahead and I checked out the screenshot, and actually this is at a lower market cap than what I actually captured yesterday. So yesterday, I think the market cap that I captured it at was just over 360K. And so it doesn't make any sense for me to show you that one, because this is actually lower. And it was lower earlier today, because you can see that this is where it was just some hours ago. And then obviously some buy pressure came back into the chart. And, this is kind of where it's sitting right now. So it was under, where are we at right here? So this, it was under 200K at one point today. So just making you guys aware that, what I said yesterday, even though it looked like there's no way this is going to fall down this much, I've said this, and I've said this, and I've said this in regards to event tokens. When the event tokens come out several days before an event, typically, not saying that this is a hard, fast rule, but typically what will happen is there's going to be a run up on the chart, okay? And then, like, with all charts, it's going to come down. Okay. And I get that there's always this tendency to feel like, hey, I've got to jump into the chart, because you feel like you're missing out, or you feel like it's going to go ahead and continue to run up and that you've missed an opportunity. What you have to understand is the tendencies of charts. Every chart that I've ever seen, I don't care how bullish the utility is, I don't care how bullish the meme is. Every chart that goes up, it always comes back down. Okay. So, and you can decide, I've mentioned this many times before, if you feel like the chart's going to continue to run and you just want to get something on the chart, throw in a couple of bucks. Okay. It's no big deal. I mean, you're talking about Solana. Okay. You're not worried about paying, some exorbitant gas fees. So, and again, this is how I would operate if it's me. I'd go ahead and I throw in a couple of bucks just because, and there's a strategy behind that. I mentioned this on other videos. The reason why is because when you go through Maestro, and again, that link, the bot links are in the description, it has a feature called, basically where you can buy the dip, okay? And it has some options, where you'll put in your threshold, which is going to be where you want it to trigger at, what the buy is going to be. And then you have to make sure you click on, that feature that says, buy the dip, buy dip or something like that. But either way, so let's say that I threw in a couple of bucks, right here, and I said, like I did yesterday, I set that threshold at 450K. I could have decided that, well, even though I set the threshold for Dexscreener at 450K, maybe I want to set the bot in Maestro the threshold to trigger a buy at 400K. Okay, so if I did that, because I've said before, it's helpful to have not only Dexscreener watching the chart for you, so you don't have to babysit it, but it's also helpful to make sure that when you put a buy on the chart through Maestro, that the bot is also watching the chart for you too, right? So you'll get that alert that Dexscreener has gone ahead and triggered, on your under alert, which again, you go back here, we set that under at 450. Okay, so now we're alerted to the fact that it's triggered at 450. And then we're thinking, okay, because there's already been some sales, and where do we find this? We found this at 513. Maybe there's going to be some continued sales that'll go ahead and continue to push the market cap down. Now the bot is triggered at 400K, and whatever that buy is, and it doesn't have to be a big buy. It could be, maybe a little bit bigger than a couple of bucks. Maybe you're putting in 10 bucks this time. Okay, now you're getting more tokens, because you're buying it at a lower market cap. And yes, it could continue to further retrace like it did. I mean, it retraced, all the way down to under 200K, but again, you could go ahead and you can set another alert, for yourself, here in Dexscreener. And then once the buy dip, has been already triggered in the Maestro bot, you can set another one, so if you think it's going to retrace even further. And basically at this point, you're not watching the chart to DCA, you're letting the bot go ahead and do it for you. So that's the reason why I tell you guys, if you're going to participate, and we always tell you on this channel, we don't encourage you to invest, but you're viewing crypto related content, so you're likely going to go and invest anyway. But again, the disclaimer still has to be made. But either way, you can DCA down, and as you DCA down, what happens? Lower market cap means whatever buy you're putting on the chart, you're getting more tokens because it's at a lower market cap. And then here's the reality, for an NFL token, because we know we got the Super Bowl coming up, it could come back up, right? But we got to get a little bit closer to the day of the event. Whenever you're launching a token, several days out from an event, the reality is it's going to go up, but it's going to come back down. And then at that point, all you're doing is watching to see, is it going to come back up? Because there's going to be more tokens deployed as we get closer, to the actual event. So I know that's a lot to go ahead and chew on as far as, my thoughts here on these event tokens, but I just want to take you through my thought process and what I'm seeing, and also highlight to you, I'm not crazy when I told you yesterday that this was going to retrace, okay? So, and there have been plenty of examples, throughout the series where I tell you guys what I think a chart's going to do. A lot of times the chart doesn't, Now, there was a friend last night, that talked to me about this is fine, a token, and the token's called This Is Fine, right? And it went ahead and it retraced, I think down to like, I don't know, somewhere in the 80K area, okay? And I thought it was basically dead because there really wasn't much catalyst, going on to push the chart back up. And then like a few hours later, it skyrocketed to like 700 or 800K, so you just never know. But a lot of times I still want to go ahead and take you through my process and my thinking to help you understand that, hey, we want to get you away from emotional type of trading. We want to get you away from that emotional type of thinking, that understanding the patterns of the charts and how it works, okay? So with that being said, now that I've got that mouthful out of the way, okay, and I know I was talking fast, if you need to go ahead and go back and review it, you have the benefit of the video. Go ahead and make sure that you go ahead and do that so you understand exactly where I'm coming from, especially if you're new to this stuff, okay? But again, at the end of the day, I'm not wrong, guys, when I tell you, for every chart that goes up, they come back down. There was a chart that launched earlier today. Let me go back into my alerts and I'll show you what I'm talking about. Another example of it, this is blue screen of Pepe, okay? So there were some callers, on this one, where this chart, when I saw it, it was, let's see here, let's go to the 5 minutes, see what we got going on. I think I was probably around in this area, when I saw it, and the chart just kept going up, okay? Let me go out to the 1 minute. Kept going up. And then you get, like a little bit of a dip, area here, and it kept going up. But you also have to understand something. We're also when you look at the markets today, we're in a red market. I mean, there's just a lot of your blue chips are in the red, and obviously, as I said before, I said yesterday, that's going to affect your altcoins, as well. So everything's going to kind of be in that, fluctuative, kind of area where it's not really bullish. There's going to be more of a bearish kind of sentiment, and there's going to still be tokens that go ahead and move up, but is that going to be sustainable considering you're in a very shaky kind of market where people are trying to hold on to more of their money? So, and this one went all the way up and it came down and went up, and then guess what happened? Massive sell-off, right? We're talking from all the way up here around 400K to under 10K, all right? So this didn't get rugged. It wasn't rugged. It was just that once people started selling big bags, everybody else panicked, and then it just killed the chart. So you have to understand, that for every chart that goes up, and this is the reason why I'm bringing this up, is because when you're looking at a chart where it's just massive activity and everybody's hyped and everybody's excited, you're getting all kinds of buys, and you're thinking there's no way on earth that it's going to go from almost 400K to under 10K. This is proof that it absolutely can't happen. And this was a legitimate token that it did not get rugged. So yeah, just keep that in mind. And still, even with this one, the reason why I have it in my alerts is because I've mentioned before that you can see tokens that happen like this, but it's Pepe, so the reality is this likely could go ahead and sit for another 5 or 6 months and not do anything. And then all of a sudden, out of the blue, it decides to go ahead and move up. So another lesson for you guys in regards to the alerts is that what you're going to do is, yes, I get it. It's minus 91% on the 6 hour, minus 91% on the 24 hour. It looks like crap on the chart as far as that's concerned. Nobody's denying that. But the alert here that I set was, hey, set the alert, let me know when this starts to go and go over 10K. What does that tell me? It tells me, just like we saw in the Martin Luther King token that we saw some days ago, right? And I'll go and I'll bring that chart back up too, because that was set for months before it did anything. And then all of a sudden it skyrocketed, right? So, and let me find that one for you guys. I may have to go ahead and scroll through some of this stuff to find it. I'll tell you what. So instead of me having you guys watch, let me just pause and I'll find it. All right, guys, I looked, and I actually don't think I set an alert for that one because of where the market cap was. That may have been a day that we were just looking at the main screen, so my fault. But either way, just making you aware, that at the end of the day, just like with that Martin Luther King token that we looked at, a token could go ahead and just start pumping, out of nowhere. And so the reason why I'm setting an alert on this one is because clearly they paid for ads for this. They paid obviously $4,000, for the ads, or for the boost on this, and they've also paid for ads, so whether it decides to pop back up out of nowhere, somebody could go ahead and decide to CTO this, at some point, so, and again, this could sit and and not do anything, but at the end of the day, it costs you nothing to go ahead and set an alert, so if it does, start moving again at some point, then at least what I can do is I can come back, to the chart, investigate, see if there's anything going on in the community, see if maybe somebody decided to go ahead and CTO it, and then decide to make a decision, from there. So again, don't decide that just because a chart, looks like there's absolutely nothing going on, that it's not something that still doesn't show any kind of, prospect, for you. Because like I said, it costs you absolutely nothing but seconds to set an alert, on it. And that can actually turn into something profitable for you should some activity start to return to the chart. So granted, I'm only looking for this to move, 2,000 or 3,000, on the market cap. And that's just, again, as I mentioned before, to give myself an indicator. So the indicator is maybe that could be the start of more activity. I could go ahead and set a new alert and say, well, I want to go ahead and see if it continues to move maybe another 5K on the market cap. And then if it continues that upward pattern, then it may make sense for me to go ahead and say, all right, fine, I'm going to jump in. So just something to keep in mind, and that's the reason why I bring this stuff up for you guys. I don't really, try to gatekeep anything for you or from you. It's really, I just want you guys to understand how you can start looking at this stuff a little bit differently and, providing, opportunities, for yourself, so that you can, again, as I like to say, have a more positive experience, in crypto. So we're going to close this one out. And I'm going to close this out and close this out and then close this out. So what we're going to do now is we're going to move into discovery. Okay. So first thing we're going to do, because we got all kinds of stuff up here that I don't need to see, and you guys know that about me if you've been watching or keeping up with this series for any amount of time. We're going to go to the gear. We're going to go ahead and customize this format. So we're going to get rid of price. We're going to get rid of transactions, volume makers. We're going to keep the time frames. We're going to get rid of liquidity and keep the market cap and click apply. So now we've got a more streamlined dashboard, so because a lot of times when I'm looking at this stuff, and again, anybody that's been following the series for a little bit knows that, as we go ahead and we, start to open up some tabs, we can see right away in the time frames that if we don't have anything going on in the 5 minute to 1 hour, that obviously right away indicates that there's no volume, there's no activity in that token, and it's probably something we don't want to invest our time into delving into any further, right? And so we don't really have any examples of that right now because everything right now is unfiltered. So there's just volume across the board, right? So what we're going to do, we're going to go into the filters, and then we're going to go ahead and do just Solana and Ethereum today, and then nothing to do here on the Dex side because we've got multiple chains selected. Liquidity as always stays the same. We're going to put in our standard market cap of 50,000. And again, for anybody that's new, if I'm moving along pretty quickly, just understand, sometimes I'll go ahead and do that, probably more often than not. Sometimes I slow down, but a lot of times when I'm just moving along, I'm just moving along. So, but you do have the benefit of just, reviewing, going back and playing the video over and over again as much as you need to follow along with what I'm doing, especially if you are new to this. And if anything that I'm telling you seems a little bit overwhelming, but the format of what I'm talking about, it continues to, for the most part, stay the same, just for the sake of consistency. But what we produce in terms of the tokens that come back after we set the filters, those do change from day to day. Okay, so 50, and we're going to go to 150 on this market cap. We tend to not go anything beyond 500K, just because I think even at 500K, if a token goes to the hundreds of millions, this 500K is still really early. Okay, so with that being said, FDV is the same thing as market cap, so we never fill that out. Pair age, we're going to go, I don't know, let's go something that's not quite as fresh, so we'll go 30 hours, to 120 hours, so some tokens, they've been around for a little bit. Okay, but still, you're still talking under a week. Okay, so 24-hour change, as always, we're going to the 10% minimum. We're going to click apply, so let's see what we get. Looks like about 30. Okay, so we got about 30 here. And remember, guys, the tokens that have this box, with the question mark, typically those are tokens we want to avoid, just because a lot of times we're going to see unusual activity in terms of buy transactions. We're going to see in the usual chart, we're probably going to see that the token's, freezable, which is usually flagged, by Dexscreener as well. So typically a lot of times these are scams, or they don't last very long. So we typically avoid these types of tokens, but again, there have been exceptions. I like to always bring up Crime Coin because that's one of them that is a real good exception to bring up because it was one with one of these little boxes with a question mark, and it took off and just went bananas. I think that one went into the millions, so, but again, that's an exception. There's always outliers, exceptions to the rules, but for the most part, we do want to avoid these kind of tokens. All right, and then we're just going to go ahead and start opening some stuff up, so ultrasound money, don't have any idea what that is, but I'm going to leave it alone. Super Ski coin, we're going to keep that one. CA51, since there's obviously some talk about, Trump and the tariffs in Canada and Mexico, so we'll see what that's about. America's Favorite Kid, we don't deal with the duplicates, I usually leave those alone. Rope is one that one I saw yesterday, and that one went nuts out of nowhere. But I think that one originated, through Pump Fund, but we're not going to take a look at it. I don't really care for a rope that signifies something that you don't really want to see. So let's see here. Quinn AI agent. I think we've taken a look at this before. This is 4 days old, so we're not going to look at that one again. Fartcoin 2.0. I think nothing's going on in the 5 minute here. So this is again another example where you can see we can take a quick look based on how we've configured our main screen here to see if there's any activity, which is why, like I said, I like to tend to get rid of a lot of that extra stuff here, just so I can, make my configuration one where it's just real quick to go ahead and make real quick decisions in terms of what I want to look at. Let us cook. This one is one we looked at before. Kind of curious about that one, so we'll open that one up. We looked at this one yesterday. Emeraldish agents and tools, nothing going on in the 5 minute or the 1 hour. So again, another example where we can see no activity, not interested in looking at it. And so yeah, we'll keep these. Let's go back into the filters real quick and we'll just make another change. I'm going to go to 151 and then we'll go 200. All right. And so we'll bring up greed, we'll bring up Toshi, and then you can see ultrasound money was in our last, set of filters, right? So Dexscreener auto adjusts, for you. So just keep in mind that if you adjust your filters and then you see some stuff that was on the last set of filters as far as the tokens that it produces, that's the reason why. It's now moving into, whatever set of filters you have, which is good because obviously we went up on the market cap, which means it's made some gain on the market cap since the last time, since the first set of filters that we made on the market cap. So we're going to go back in here and we're going to go to 201. Okay, and then we're going to go to 300. And I tend to like to chunk this out just because I don't want to see a ton of tokens, all at once, so Perchita, we'll open that one up, and sure, we'll open this one up as well. Okay, so we got a bunch of tokens up here. We're going to take a look, real quick and see what we got going on. And then if we need to come back and adjust our filters further, we'll go ahead and we'll do that. So all we're doing at this point, for anybody that's brand new, we're just making quick scans of the charts and making sure they got at least a telegram here. So the chart here, I'm not crazy about it, but does look like this could maybe start to head back up, but not if you see that $773 sell. That's going to put a little red candle, on the chart at some point. So, but I'll tell you what, we'll keep it for now, and we'll see what it looks like when we come back. This one, no telegram, so that's a no. This one, we have a telegram, but I'm not really crazy about this chart, and no activity here on the 5 minute. They've got some ads going. We'll check it out, but I'm skeptical about it. This one, they got a telegram. The chart looks okay, I guess, and originated from Pump Fund. Nothing going on in the 5 minute. Not a lot of activity here on the 1 hour, but again, we'll check it out. Here, America's favorite kid. This looks like, what is this, Barron Trump? Yeah, Barron. So the chart so far doesn't look too bad, but if I were to do anything on it, it'd probably be an under alert because of where the candle is. So, but we'll keep it. This one, let us cook. Okay, so yeah, this is one we looked at some days ago, but not a lot of movement on this chart, so we're going to leave it alone. And this one is greed, so they're showing you the fear and greed index, as far as their banner is concerned. And nothing going on here in the 5 minutes, but they do have a telegram. The chart doesn't look too bad, so we'll keep it. And then Toshi here, we're going to go out to the 5 minutes, 1 minute. Not really crazy about this chart whatsoever, so we're going to leave this one alone. And Perchita, this one doesn't look too bad. They got a Discord. We typically don't mess with ones with the Discord, so, but you see it now, when you choose to go ahead and watch this video, for anybody watching the video now that it's, it's not uploaded at this point since I'm recording, but, obviously by the time you see it, it would have been uploaded. All you got to do is just go ahead and copy the name here, go into your search and paste it in. And then just match up, the information over here. So Perchita, we're sitting at 259K. On the 1 hour, it says 12.56. On the 24 hour, it says 26.4. So it's going to be, this one is the one that we're looking for, not this one. That's the reason why you want to line up the data. Okay. So, and again, line up your market cap, line up your 1 hour, line up your 24 hour. So that way, you're in the right token. Okay. So, and I say that because I don't go ahead and leave, the contract addresses, for all the tokens that I talk about in the video in the description, so that's the easiest way to go ahead and follow the tokens, that is being talked about and discussed, in the content. Just copy it, go here, and then just match up the data. Okay, so we're not going to go ahead and talk about this one. And then here, we don't get a telegram. So, all right, so we're going to go back here. We're going to open up some more tokens. I want to get at least, somewhere in the neighborhood of 10 tokens to go ahead and talk about before we start checking out the channels. So we're going to go 301, and then we're just going to go out to 5. Okay. And then we'll start investigating the channels. So Duke, this is one I want to talk about for sure. So we talked about this one some days ago, but I want to bring it back up, for a reason. Sue, we'll open this one up. Paddington's best friend, sure. Let's see here. Tato, don't know what that is, but looks interesting. Anon, anybody can trust. Okay, Neymar, sure. Oops, Anon, that one's one. Let's see here. That's a duplicate, so we're not messing with that. Moo, yep. And Tato is actually a duplicate too, so we're not going to mess with this one either. Okay, so remember, guys, I don't mess with the duplicates. Just keep that in mind. Okay, so here we go, and let's go to, is it Greed? No, it's going to be Duke. All right, so Sue, let's see here. What's the 15-minute, 1 hour? It doesn't look too bad, but do we get socials with this one? Let's see. Doesn't look like we're getting any socials on this one, so we're leaving this one alone. And we got Spady, or Paddington's best friend. All right, so let's see what the 1 hour looks like on this one. All right, doesn't look too bad. We're going to keep it. Neymar coin. Let's see what the 1 hour is on this one. Doesn't look terrible. All right, and we got a Telegram here. And then Moo, we do get a Telegram. Let's see. Oops. Not crazy about this chart. We're going to leave it alone. Okay. So, and keep in mind, when I say I'm not crazy about the chart, a lot of it just really comes down to, I know I've come across so many different tokens that have a good idea in terms of what a healthy chart should look like and what the sketchy ones look like, so if I see something that doesn't really look like, typically what a healthy pattern would look like, whether it's, on the buy side or the sell side, then I'm not going to go ahead and mess with it. And you'll also see that too, the more that you engage, with a lot of tokens, that you'll be able to tell, what the healthier charts look like and what the ones, that look suspect look like as well, look like too. So, all right, so we're going to move into checking out channels at this point. So you guys give me a moment, I'll be right back. All right, guys, so we're going to go ahead and start with, actually, let's start with Duke. Let's start with Duke, since we've already talked about this one before. So we obviously found Duke, much higher than this market cap, right? So we can see that the original alert was set on this particular token. We saw it over 700K. Now, some of these tokens that we've talked about in the past, whenever we've done review, we've seen that maybe they've gone ahead and kind of sat flatline, for a number of days, and then all of a sudden they went ahead and decided to take off. And there are plenty of instances, because I've got so many alerts, in my alert collection, that I can, a lot of times, and because I'm talking about tokens just about every day, I go ahead and I get rid, a bunch of them, sometimes even prematurely before they decide to go ahead and take off, just because I don't want to be sitting on, 500 or 600 alerts, in my collection, so, but this is one that I continue to watch. And over the weekend, it actually dipped to like, 85K. I mean, so, when you see tokens like this, where this is pretty much the pattern over a weekend, you typically see larger dumps, because you're dealing with a lot of impatient holders and this and that. And that's just typically the pattern. Now, I've said before, there are always going to be exceptions, to patterns that we see in terms of charts, right? And this one was one that actually, and consider what the market's been like. The market's just kind of been crummy, okay? A lot of red, a sea of red out there. A lot of fear out there, and obviously that tends to happen, whenever, the big boys are crashing or going down, right? So, and that typically affects, your altcoins, right, as well. However, it pretty much held like these levels all weekend. And so even overnight, I was thinking about calling it on the main channel, which I eventually did, but I was like, I saw this last night and it was still under 200K. And I was like, well, it's continued to move, so, but I was figuring that maybe overnight, considering the dead hours, when everybody's sleeping and whatnot, there's no real activity that, hey, somebody would have been impatient, decided to go ahead and just sell it off. But they didn't do that. There were actually buys that continued to come in on the chart. So I get up this morning and I'm like, wow, it's actually like, it was like close to 250K. I was like, wow, okay. So this was one of the exceptions, for me. So I did proceed to decide to go ahead and call this, on the main channel. So here we go. You can see that I called it at 231, and, I highlight that this was something I discovered, through the Dexscreener series, that I've been doing. So, because I want to go ahead and at least, let the main community know that I'm doing this series and whatnot. And so when I see stuff and I post it, here on the main channel, and if you're not part of this channel, definitely consider subscribing to it. And those links are in the description, but yeah, decided to go ahead and call this. And then obviously we can see, based on, where the chart's at, this is sitting at, what's the tab telling us? The tab is telling us this is sitting at 351K. So, I mean, it's already continued to move up since I've called it on the main channel, so, and I mean, there's been buys, there's also been sells. We can see that the activity here, is still moving, pretty steadily, but what's going on here? I mean, we're seeing that, the market cap's going up and it's going down, but either way, there's a lot of activity, so, and, what did we do? We saw this again over 700K. Now, am I saying that this can get back, to these peak levels? I have no idea, but I do know this much. A lot of times when you're looking at a market, that's red across the board, you don't always see tokens in their communities, in spite of retracement, continue to hang in there and continuing to fight to reestablish themselves back at these peak levels. Now, we can also see that they've got boosts that they've paid for. We know that a 500 boost is $4,000. So they paid more than that for this boost. We also can see that they're paid for ads as well. We can also see that they are hot pairs. They're on hot pairs, on that leaderboard, too. So keep in mind, even when we look at like the last hour, here's what the buy volume's looking like. We look at the last 6 hours. Here's the buy volume looking like over $1 million in buys in terms of volume over the last 6 hours. So there's still clear interest, in this token, and it looks like it is quite memeable, if you ask me my personal opinion. Now, does that mean that this is going to go through the roof and go bananas at some point? I have no idea. I have no idea whatsoever. And you guys know I don't speculate like that. But the reason why I'm bringing it up to you is because this is the reason why we set these alerts. So this did trigger, when it went under 600K. Obviously, it retraced a lot further than that. But remember, you can always set multiple alerts. On the downside, we can always set multiple alerts on the upside. And the reason why we set these alerts is because they're indicators helping us to keep an eye on what's going on in the chart instead of us having to go ahead and sit there and babysit the chart, watching every move that takes place on the Satoshi candles, right? Okay, so that's my spiel in regards to this particular coin. So with Duke, make sure that if this is something that you're interested in, I don't know, some of you guys go ahead and set the same alerts that I do, but if you're interested in this one, definitely, just go ahead and copy it like I showed you earlier, copy the name, go in here, and then make sure you match up the market cap, make sure you're matching up the 1 hour and the 24 hours so you know that you're in the right one, okay, especially if there are any duplicates out there, okay? So with that being said, that's going to be enough that I'm set on this one, and we're going to go over to Golden Pony, and we're going to see what's going on here, in their channel. All right, so I'm going to click this so that we don't have to continue to do that for every time that we're looking at a new one. Okay, and let's see what's going on here. We got just over 200 members, here in the channel. They got a raid going, so it looks like they're looking for 3 bookmarks, 3 replies, 3 retweets, and 5 likes. So not very big. They got a small VC going. It's only 2 members. It's essentially not even a VC. But again, as far as optics are concerned, still looks better to have one going than not have one going. So here, looking at major buy bot, so last buy just came in a minute ago, so they still have recent and current activity, which is good to see. I don't see anything so far in regards to, like any trending taking place, which, they don't necessarily need it, but again, it does help, as I mentioned before, to have multiple things going on to continue to push the overall footprint and exposure, of the token. And it helps to go ahead and continue to make sure your community is involved to essentially work for their own bags as well. As far as the pin messages are concerned, got some stuff going on here on X. Okay, let's see here. Anything? Okay, so they got a TikTok, so they're doing something in regards to TikTok, which is good to see. Okay, so not gonna spend much more time in there. But with that being said, do I think this one, may start to go ahead and head back up? It's kind of hard to tell. I mean, they got a small boost going on, but it's the smallest one that you can pay for. I think it makes sense to go ahead and set a couple of alerts on this one, an up and an under. All right, so we're sitting, let's see here if this is gonna match up. Sitting at 90K, so according to the tabs, we're going to go here, we're going to put in 90K, and we're going to copy, oops, good grief, copy that. All right, so on the over, we're going to go ahead and put this at 110, okay? And then on the under, let's see here, let's paste this in. On the under, let's put this at 75. All right, and let's see if either of those trigger as far as the alerts are concerned. Now, we got Super Ski Coin. We're going to go ahead and check out the channel, see what they got going on in this one. Okay, so we get a verification portal, got our link, we got just under 800 members, here in the chat, and I don't see anything as far as the raid's concerned just yet. Last buy came in, over 20 minutes ago. So with this one right away, we don't have to go ahead and mess with this because if you're new, I want to see a buy take place within 10 minutes of what I see on my on my computer, clock. So if I see anything outside of that 10-minute window, then it's a no-go for me. Now, for you, you may have a different set of standards in terms of what would compel you to continue to investigate a coin. For me, like I said, if I don't see anything within 10 minutes, that means to me there's not really much volume going on, and likely you're going to see further retracement on the chart, which means I'm just not going to be interested because eventually they're just going to sell it down. So, all right, so with this one, this is a no, so we're leaving it alone. And then here we got a Canada-oriented token, so we're going to check out their Telegram. This one I think is also going to fall into here you got to even apply, to be a part of the group. So this is definitely a no. And I said that, I really wasn't sure, that even though the chart looked, kind of okay, you can't ever ignore, this stuff right here. Nothing going on in the 5-minute, no activity going on really in the 1 hour. So I'm going to leave this one alone. And here we got some more activity, here in the 1 hour, but nothing going on here in the 5-minute. But we'll go ahead and we'll check it out and see, if they've got any kind of recent buys that have come in on this one. So just over 800 members in the chat, and then we can see that there's a raid that's currently in progress. Looking for 10 bookmarks, 25 retweets, 25 comments, and 30 likes. So we're going to go back to the bottom. We're going to look for the most recent buy. Now here's my thing with Baron tokens. The thing with Baron tokens, I have yet to see one actually go ahead and take off and really, really do well. I just haven't. A lot of these Baron tokens, to me, people just don't. There's just not really a bullish sentiment around this. You compare that to Trump tokens. I mean, you see a lot more activity. But with Baron tokens, if there is one out there, I mean, then I would say that it's the exception amongst a sea of other Baron tokens, because most of these don't ever do very well. At least that's just been my observational experience. So this one, we can see we're sitting at 12:15. It's just outside the 10-minute buy window for me, because my clock is saying, 12:27. So with that being said, I'm not going to go ahead and mess with this one. But again, if this is something you want to come back and take a look at, feel free. But I'm just letting you know that for this one, it's outside of my 10-minute buy window. So I'm not interested in pursuing and following this one. So we're going to leave this one alone. Now for greed here, we're going to go ahead and take a look at the channel, see what's going on. It doesn't look like there's been really much movement since the last time we looked at it. And so it doesn't look like there's a portal for this one. I actually really don't care for their buy bot picture, but that's just my own personal opinion. And we're not seeing any buys. So I mean, the last buy was I think yesterday. So yeah, nothing going on with this one. So we're going to leave this one alone. Okay, and so that's done. That one's done. Let's take a look at Paddington's best friend. Let's see here. Not much going on in the 5-minute or the 1 hour really. So we do get a verification portal. So all right, so let's see here. Just over 1,200 members, in the group. All right, when was the last buy? Last buy was 12:22. Okay, so that's still within my buy window. Okay, so we look like they're trying to go ahead and get votes, for trending, through major buy bot, and they got a raid here that they completed. This one, I mean, looks like great engagement, from the community. They were only looking for 20 bookmarks. They got 106. They were looking for 50 replies. They got 50. They were looking for 90 retweets. They got 114 and 120 likes. So, I mean, that is massive activity. But obviously with a community this size, you would expect that they should be able to fill that kind of raid. Not sure how long it took them, but again, it is encouraging to see that they knocked that one out. So I love that. I love that they were able to go ahead and do that. I think that's a very positive, signal associated, with the community and the token itself. Don't see any sign of any trending going on. And then let's see here, not seeing a ton of activity on the buy side, either. So let's see here. Okay, let's see. So they paid for some trending there, which is good. All right. Okay. So yeah. I mean, let's see what's going on. Let's see what's going on here. Okay. All right. So we're gonna go back out here, and okay, we're gonna close this up. So I mean, looks like they're trying to move up, but again, not a lot of activity here. So even though, and I've said this before, that raids don't go ahead and continue to push the token. You need to have some other things going on. So for right now, my big question is when trending's gone, when the raid's gone, when you don't have any other catalysts to go and move the token, what's the chart going to do? So right now it's just kind of bobbling. You're just kind of standing still right now. No activity really. So do I believe this is going to go up or go down? I absolutely believe this is going to go down. So I'm going to set an alert on this one. This is sitting at 451 on the market cap. So here we go. 451K, and we're going to say this is going to go down. I'm actually going to set this at 3. look, if I set it to 300, here's my thing. My caveat is if they go ahead and they start to pay for anything, as far as like a catalyst to move this token, then it's probably never going to hit 300K. But I'm going to set it for 300K anyway, which I know is a massive deviation from where it's at currently. But there's nothing going on. Like there's no activity, so. And sporadic buys is going to lead to people that just don't have the patience for this nonsense, and they're going to go ahead and they're going to sell it down. So, and you can already see a block of sells right here, and there are more sells than buys. So I believe it's possible for this to definitely retrace over 150K. So, so we'll see. So this is Neymar, and we're going to go ahead and check out the channel, see what they got going on. All right, so we get a verification portal. This is a Guardian one. Remember, we don't see these very much, so. 178 members here. Let's see when the last buy was. That was over 20 minutes ago. So yeah, we're not going to go and leave this. We're not going to mess with this one either. So just making you guys aware. Again, if it doesn't meet that 10-minute window for me, then I don't mess with it. So with that being said, I think we're going to leave it there for now. So that's going to do it for today's video. Appreciate you guys as always for tuning in for another video here on the channel and for continuing to follow the Dexscreener series. We're more than 50 days in. It's been fun doing the series, and I hope to continue to bring some more value to you through this series. If you know anybody that's new, to crypto and wants to basically, look at a channel, where where you feel like you're not really getting shilled a bunch of information, where you feel like it's informational, definitely be sure to go ahead and share not only this channel with them, but the other channels that are associated with Investment Honey as well. So thanks so much for watching. If you're not yet subscribed to the channel, please consider subscribing, and I will see you guys on the next video.